Now, on another note, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees is in trouble again. The organization, responding to a recent damning report by independent monitoring group UN Watch, in which the NGO accuses at least 22 UNRWA employees of anti-Semitic biases and incitement to violence. UNRWA, for its part, now opening an internal investigation into the allegations, but only partially. UNRWA will only be probing 10 of the 22 named persons, saying that despite UN Watch's, quote, deep history of unfounded and politically driven assertions, end quote, UNRWA has a zero-tolerance policy for hatred. So what comes next? Well, joining me now with more is CEO of Impact SE, an international educational curriculum monitoring group, Marcus Sheff. Marcus, thank you so much for joining us. Now, this is not the first damning report against UNRWA and its educational staff, is it?
Pleasure, Aaron. No, it is absolutely not. We brought out a report at the beginning of this year which focused on UNRWA's own material, which was written by their teachers, which was unfortunately full of hate. This is material which was produced, printed, distributed by UNRWA itself, what they call self-study materials for the COVID pandemic. And they contain lessons which violate UN values, UNESCO standards, and of course, UNRWA's own principles. They incite to violence, they promote the glorification of martyrdom and of terrorism. They erase Israel, which is of course a UN member, off maps. And they reproduce dangerous libels and conspiracy theories using terms like defending the motherland with blood and passages that glorify as role models terrorists such as Dalal Mughrabi. And so, no, this is absolutely not the first time. But I think what brings these two reports together, the Impact SE report and this new report by UN Watch, is that these are materials produced by UNRWA's own teachers, UNRWA's own staff. You know, UNRWA is the biggest UN organization, a 30,000 person organization, and a good chunk of those people are teachers. And these teachers are supposed to go through a great deal of vetting and education in, frankly, how not to be anti-Semitic, how not to be hateful, how not to bring intolerant ideas to the classroom. And so this is the second time this year that UNRWA's teachers have been shown to, despite all of this, unfortunately, promote hateful ideas.
Well, UNRWA's statement says that they'll be investigating to determine, quote, if any of these 10 persons out of the more than 28,000 personnel violated the agency's policies, end quote. To me, this does two things. It completely absolves these 12 others cited in UN Watch's report without investigation, and it gives the impression that this is an exceptionally rare issue. In your opinion, are the other 12 individuals arguably innocent and above this investigation? And is this as rare of an issue as UNRWA claims? It sounds like from your first response that maybe that's not the case.
Well, firstly, UNRWA states that there is zero policy in their organization for hate, for the dissemination of hate. And right there, we seem to have a problem because it does seem to be tolerance for people disseminating hateful, anti-Semitic, pro-Hitler material, and to the best of my understanding, not being investigated by UNRWA. But I think, you know, the key problem here is exactly that. It is this idea of being investigated by UNRWA. UNRWA maintains that it only teaches content which aligns with the values of the UN. They also maintain that they have this robust internal review in order and all kinds of mechanisms in order to ensure adherence to those standards. And yet time and time again, we find that this is not the case. And so, you know, the real problem here is this idea of oversight and accountability. And frankly, there does not seem to be either of those. The evaluation of UNRWA's operations is conducted by UNRWA. You know, that in and of itself is problematic if time and time again we see that UNRWA is propagating hateful material, or in this case, UNRWA's teachers are propagating hateful material. And, again, this is a UN organization, and this is an organization which is funded to something around $1 billion annually by the international community. So, I do think that the idea of the need for external audit is not a crazy idea when time and time again they do seem to be propagating this kind of material. What is needed here, frankly, Aaron, is transparency. And there is only going to be oversight and accountability when there is absolute transparency in the materials which UNRWA produces, and in, frankly, the views of teachers who are propagating hateful material. Those teachers should be out of that organization. There should be zero tolerance for them.
All right. Marcus, Sheff, thank you so much for your insights.
Pleasure.